Look, be honest with me for a second. Think back to the first time you ever checked a bank account and saw more than a few $1,000s sitting there. Maybe it was $3,200. Maybe it was $4,800. Maybe you finally cracked $5,000 and thought, wait, is this what being rich feels like? You refreshed the app, you screenshotted it, you probably did that thing where you opened the calculator and just typed the number again to make sure it was real. And here's the weird part, fast forward a few years, you've got $30,000, maybe $40,000, maybe even $50,000 saved or invested, and instead of feeling powerful, you feel kind of stressed. You're thinking about inflation, you're thinking about missed opportunities, you're thinking, this still doesn't feel like enough, which makes zero sense because objectively, $50,000 is 10 times more than $5,000. So why does the smaller number feel bigger? Why does your first $5,000 feel like freedom, but your first $50,000 just feels like responsibility? Here's the thing, this isn't a mindset issue, and it's not you being ungrateful, it's psychology, it's math, and it's how money actually works in real life, not how we're told it works. And once you understand this, you'll stop feeling behind and start using money the way it actually rewards you. My name is Tom, and I spend way too much time thinking about personal finance and investing. If you're someone who is trying to get ahead financially, but still feels stuck living paycheck to paycheck, or unsure if you're doing the right things with your money, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Now, let's talk about why your first $5,000 is secretly doing more work for your life than your first $50,000 ever will. And yeah, I know how insane that sounds. We're taught this really simple idea about money. More money equals more freedom. And look, that's not wrong, but it's wildly incomplete. Because what actually creates freedom isn't the amount of money you have, it's what that money can change about your life. Here's what most people don't realize. The first dollars you save don't just grow, they unlock things. And later dollars, they mostly just optimize things. That difference matters way more than people think. Let's break this down with real numbers. According to the Federal Reserve, nearly 37% of Americans can't cover a $400 emergency without borrowing money or selling something, not $4,000. 400. So when you build your first $5,000, here's what happens psychologically. You're no longer one unexpected expense away from panic. You stop putting emergencies on credit cards. You stop overdrafting accounts. You stop making decisions purely based on fear. That's not a small upgrade. That's a complete change in how your brain operates. Behavioral economists call this scarcity relief. When you don't have a buffer, your brain is constantly scanning for threats. Can I afford this? What if I lose my job? What if my car breaks down? But once you cross that first few $1,000 threshold, your nervous system finally unclenches. And that feeling is why $5,000 feels so powerful. Now let's talk about the other side. You hit $50,000. Objectively impressive, top tier compared to the average household. But here's what changes at that level. You already solved emergencies, you already stabilized cash flow, you already proved you can save money. So instead of eliminating fear, new money starts introducing complexity. Now you're thinking, should this be invested? Am I allocating this correctly? Is inflation eating this? Am I missing better returns? In other words, money stops being emotional protection and starts being a strategic tool. That shift is subtle, but it completely changes how money feels. This is where it gets really interesting. There's research showing that each additional dollar you earn or save delivers less emotional impact than the dollar before it. Your first $1,000, life-changing. Your first $5,000, stress-altering. Your first $50,000, impressive but abstract. Because once your basic financial fears are gone, money stops fixing problems and starts measuring progress. And progress never feels as satisfying as relief. Think about money like oxygen. When you don't have enough, it's everything. You can't think about anything else. Once you have enough, you stop noticing it. No one wakes up grateful they're breathing, but the moment you can't, it's all that matters. Your first $5,000 is financial oxygen. Your first $50,000 is financial performance. Different roles, different feelings. Let's talk numbers for a second. If you have $5,000 and an emergency pops up costing $2,000, that's 40% of your savings, but you're still okay. If you have $0, that same expense goes on a credit card at 22% interest. Now you're not just paying $2,000, you're paying years of interest plus stress. That's negative compounding. Your first savings don't just grow, they prevent loss. And preventing loss is mathematically more powerful than chasing gains. Now you might be thinking, okay Tom, but Obviously, $50,000 is better than $5,000. Yes, obviously. But here's the nuance most people miss. The impact per dollar decreases as you go. And if you don't understand that, you'll constantly feel behind, even while doing well, which leads people to take unnecessary risks, chase returns too aggressively, feel anxious despite progress, all because they don't recognize that the hardest part already happened. If you're under $5,000 right now, your job is stability, not optimization. Your goal is not beating the market, maxing returns. Finding the perfect strategy. Your goal is simple: buy peace of mind. That means emergency fund, first cash buffer before investing aggressively, removing financial panic from your life. Once that's done, then we talk growth. Someone with $50,000 is playing a different game than someone with $5,000. Same scoreboard, different level. Comparing across stages is how you destroy motivation. Your first $5,000 feels powerful because it changes how you live. Your first $50,000 feels quieter because it changes how you plan. Both matter, but they matter in different ways. And if you understand that, you stop feeling behind, you stop rushing progress, and you start building wealth in a way that actually sticks. Here's what most people don't realize. The moment you cross that first financial safety threshold, whether it's $3,000, $5,000, or $10,000, your brain quietly switches games on you. Up until that point, money is about survival. After that point, money becomes about identity. And that shift messes with people hard, because when money is about survival, progress feels obvious. I can pay my bills. I won't panic if my car breaks. I'm not drowning anymore. But when money becomes about identity, now the questions change. Am I doing well enough? Am I behind people my age? Why does it feel like everyone else is richer than me? And this is where people with 30K, 50K, even 100K start feeling strangely unsatisfied. Not because they're failing, but because they're measuring the wrong thing. Look, your first $5,000 is visible progress. You can feel it. You can use it. It changes how you sleep at night. But your next $45,000, it mostly lives on spreadsheets, apps, and statements. It's abstract, and humans are terrible at emotionally processing abstract progress. There's a concept in behavioral psychology called hedonic adaptation. It basically means whatever level you reach eventually becomes normal. That first time you weren't stressed about rent, huge emotional hit. The 10th time barely registers. So the problem isn't that $50,000 isn't meaningful. The problem is that your brain has already adjusted, and instead of feeling gratitude, it starts scanning for the next gap. This is where it gets really interesting and a little frustrating, because once people stop feeling progress, they try to manufacture it. They chase riskier investments, constantly tinker with strategies, jump in and out of assets, obsess over short-term returns. Not because it's rational, but because they're trying to recreate the emotional rush they got from early wins. Your brain wants novelty, your money wants consistency, and those two things are constantly at war. Let's make this painfully concrete. Say you go from $0 to $5,000. That's infinite percentage growth, literally undefined. Your financial situation went from fragile to stable. Now let's say you go from $50,000 to $55,000. That's a 10% increase, which is objectively excellent, but emotionally, it feels smaller because nothing about your daily life changed. Same apartment, same job, same routines. And here's the kicker. That second jump required more discipline, more time, and more restraint, but delivered less emotional reward. That's not a motivation problem. That's how diminishing returns work. Early money plays defense. It protects you from debt stress, bad decisions, forced timing, and defense wins games. People massively underestimate how much wealth is built not by making money, but by not losing it. Avoiding a single high-interest debt spiral can be worth tens of thousands of dollars over a lifetime. Your first savings don't grow fast, but they block damage. That's leverage most people never acknowledge. Once you're past that safety phase, money shifts roles. Now it's about long-term compounding, delayed gratification. Boring consistency, staying invested when nothing exciting is happening. Which, let's be honest, is way harder mentally, because compounding is invisible for a long time. The first few years, it feels like nothing is happening, and humans hate waiting for invisible results. Now you might be thinking, okay Tom, but shouldn't I want more? Isn't that the whole point? Yes, absolutely. But here's the difference between healthy ambition and self-sabotage. Healthy ambition says, I'm building something that takes time. Self-sabotage says, I should feel further along than I do. One builds wealth, the other creates anxiety, even at high net worths. Here's the cruel irony. The more money you have, the more people you're exposed to who have more. At $5,000, you compare yourself to broke you. At $50,000, you compare yourself to investors, high earners, and online highlight reels. And suddenly, 50K feels small, 100K feels okay, 250K feels like the new baseline, which is why understanding stages matters so much. Let me simplify this. Stage 1, safety emergency fund, cash buffer stability. This is where $5,000 feels like magic. Stage 2, growth investing, long-term thinking patience. This is where money feels boring. Stage 3, optimization tax strategy, asset allocation, lifestyle design. This is where money becomes about efficiency, not emotion. Most people emotionally live in stage 1 while financially being in stage 2. And that mismatch causes stress. Ask yourself this honestly. What is my money supposed to be doing right now? If the answer is keeping me safe, stop stressing about returns. If the answer is growing over decades, stop checking it every week. Misaligned expectations create unnecessary frustration. Instead of, I want $100,000, try, I want 6 months of expenses saved. I want my investments automated. I want to never carry a balance. Those milestones change behavior. Round numbers just change emotions. Once you internalize this, something powerful happens. You stop rushing, you stop comparing, you stop feeling like progress should feel better than it does. And paradoxically, that's when wealth accelerates, because consistency beats intensity and patience beats excitement. Real wealth isn't loud. It doesn't feel dramatic after the early stages. It feels boring. And that's a good thing, because boring means stable. Boring means predictable. Boring means you're no longer fighting fires. Your first $5,000 feels powerful because it ends chaos. Your first $50,000 feels quieter because chaos is already gone. That's silence, that's success. So if you're early in your journey, celebrate that first $5,000. It's harder than most people will ever admit. And if you're past it and wondering why money doesn't feel as exciting anymore, good. That means it's working. You're building something that doesn't need constant emotional validation to succeed. If this video helped reframe how you think about money, hit the thumbs up. It genuinely helps the channel reach more people who need to hear this. And if you want more practical, no BS explanations about money, investing, and building a financial life that actually makes sense, make sure you're subscribed, because the goal isn't just more money, it's less stress and more control over your future. And that starts way earlier than most people think.